brand new parak. The parak is the second parak of Yoma, and we shall start. Berishayna, in the beginning, so we're talking about taking out the Chumar Sadeshen, removing the ashes after the whole day's work of sacrificing animals that did accumulate much ashes. Therefore, at the end of the beginning of the next morning, early, in fact, probably before dawn, the last thing, or the first thing of the day, we'll talk about that, was removal of the ashes. So whoever wanted to do it in the beginning, let anyone do it. There was no big rush for people to go run and go ahead and actually remove the ashes. And therefore, they didn't have any system to choose who's going to do it. At some points when there were a lot of people trying to get this to be the ones to remove the ashes, which it wasn't a vaida, so it had some. You were zeicha to it was a merit to fulfill. Most people didn't want to do it. But at times there would be times in the beginning. There were times when people would there'd be multiple people wanting to do it. So they would run up the ramp. Whoever gets to the top of the ramp first, we'll see exactly what means the top of the ramp. They would be the ones who merited it to go ahead and actually be able to remove the ashes. What if two people reached the top of the ramp at the same time and it's a tie? The one who's in charge of them, the head Kohen on that period, would say, okay, everyone, put out your hand. Everyone, not only the two that went to the top, everyone who did the original run to get to the top, besides the two that actually got to the top first, they would put out their hand, and they would put out one or two hands, and just to say how it would go, the head Kohen would tell the one random Kohen, take off your hat. He'll start counting from there. He'll think of a number, and he'll start counting one to each finger. And when he stops the number, whatever he was, a large number by the way, it was like 60 or 100. And then wherever he stops, he's the one who merited to go ahead and go up and remove the ashes. It's sort of like a gyro, like a lot. And we weren't supposed to put, you're not allowed to put out the thumb in the Beis Mikdash. We'll have to see why. There was a story. The two Kohanim were rushing up the ramp to get to the top. One of them pushed the other, and he fell off, and his back is quite high. V'nishbra ragla, he broke his foot. And since Bezdin saw that this whole idea of running up the ramp could lead to a danger, therefore they established that the only way that they choose who gets to remove the ashes from the mizbeach only with lots. Again, this system of putting out your fingers and counting. There were 4 different type of lotteries, and this was the first one. And Pais happens to be in Israel. The name of, if you ever go around Israel, you see a lot of communal buildings, educational buildings. Pais Yudit Samach. That is the lottery. That's the lottery company or the Crown Corporation. The lottery corporation owned by Israel called Pais, and that's where it comes from, lots. Okay, now we're going to go on to the Gemara. My time I like to So, but why did they have this whole system to begin with? Why do they have to have, in the beginning, no one did it, and they didn't have a system at all because no one really wanted to do it, and then they had a system running up the ramp, and then finally they came out with a more logical way to do it, which is through lots. First they thought, it's late at night, early in the morning, no one's getting up, no one's crazy to get up 6:15 in the morning and run out and do that vaida. Therefore, we're not going to worry about it. Since they saw, well, people are coming to do it, and then they went ahead and did the ramp, and then when that went into when that entered the danger zone, they went over to the lots. But there's other types of services which are done at night. And immediately at the onset of the Mishkan and Beis Mikdash, they set lots. So why is this different? That by Ivarim Padarim right away they had lots. By the removal of the ashes over there, they had to wait till the whole scenario played out. So the answer is Seif Avoda Di Mamahi. The answer is that the Ivarim Padarim was the last. Was at the end of the day, and therefore people wanted to do it. We could also say, but what do you mean? When it comes to removing the ashes, that's also very late at night. That's extremely late at night. It's the first thing you do in the morning. You're talking about before the break of dawn. We know that the halacha is if someone goes, if the kohen goes ahead and washes his hands in order to go ahead and be able to bring the in order to do the Trumas Hadesh, removal of the ashes, then the next day he will not have to go ahead and wash his hands to do the beginning, the first Avodah of the morning. Meaning it's in the morning already. There's no hefsek. There's no break between removal of the ashes and the start of the morning's Avodah. So perhaps Shekvar Kiddush Metchila La Avodah. No, the answer doesn't mean to say that. It doesn't mean to say that the first thing in the morning. It doesn't mean to say that the first thing in the morning was It doesn't mean to say that the first thing in the morning is going to be the it doesn't mean to say that that the Trumas Hadeshin is the first thing in the morning. It just means to say that it's the last thing of the day, which happens to be early morning. It happens to be that if you wash your hands for Trumas Hadeshin, it's so close to the first Avodah of the morning, it counts. But it doesn't mean to say that's the first thing in the morning. Another way to answer me, another way to learn is that why did they not originally go straight to lots? Because in the beginning, they thought that people are not going to want to wake up early and go ahead and do it. But once they saw that people were coming, they went ahead and they made lots. So what do you mean? Varam Padam was up very late at night, and people wouldn't want to really waste their sleep. Not waste their sleep, lose their precious sleep in order to go do that avodah. Perhaps shani migdal mimakim. So this is very interesting. It says no, there's a difference between the very last thing at night and the very first thing in the morning. What's the difference? The difference is that to wake up late, to stay up late is not so hard. Ask any teenager. You stay up till 2:00 in the morning. Getting up 4:00 in the morning, that's hard. Therefore, the Yivarim Padarim, which was extremely late at night, Kahanim, the younger Kahanim, they'll push themselves to be around. They hung around in the base of Mikdash, and they wanted to do the Avodah once they're around. But when it comes to waking up very early in the morning, that they thought no one was actually going to do, and therefore they never thought to institute lots immediately. Okay, and that we continue. Now the question is that why is it? Are you saying that the reason why we had to go ahead and make a takana with the lots is because of sakana? We could have said that the reason is that many people wanted to do it because we know the Tanya there are so many things to do. If you win the lottery, if whoever chose in the beginning, they just walked up and said, I want to do it. Then they had the running race, and then they had the lottery. Why wouldn't they need the lottery immediately? Because it's an extremely important position to remove the ashes, because if you remove the ashes, you get other things with it. Number one, you get to set up, right after you remove the ashes, you go back on top of the base, you go back to the mizbeach, and you set up the fire, and you place the big logs on top of the fire. So you're talking about with the one win, by getting, in the beginning, it wasn't to win. A win was just deciding you wanted to do it and taking it, or with a win, or with a race, you get 3 positions. So immediately there should have been people wanting to do it, because with one thing you end up doing 3. So that's extremely important. So really it was two different steps. In the beginning they thought they weren't going to come. Since once they saw that they're coming, there was a sakana, then they went ahead and made it lots. Now, once they made lots, for some reason, people stopped showing up. It wasn't worth it because in the beginning, whoever showed up, then there was definitely one little, that one Kohen who wanted to do the Avodah, he would show up. And when it came to the race, by the time it came to lots, obviously there were a lot of people coming. If you have to do lots, and if you couldn't just decide over every morning, we're talking about scores of Kahanim. So therefore, once that was happening, it means there was a lot. Then everyone was thought, why should I even bother going? I'm going to wake up early in the morning, and I have a very low chance of ever doing the Avodah anyway, so why am I waking up? Might as well sleep in a little more. Then no one was showing up. So what do they do now? So now they're out of luck. No one was showing up at all. So what do they do now? Amr mi yomer de misrim and light. Allah hadar tekinu le mi shezayich b'trum sadash and niska b'sidu maracha shen gives it isim keich and nichum nefaisu. And then what happened was that they said whoever does the Trumas Hadeshin also gets the other two avodas of arranging the wood. So therefore, what was the original question was that why do they have, or why do we have a whole process to come to the conclusion that we need lots? Originally, it was an extremely chashuv position. You got 3 of them, so of course you need lots. And many Kohanim jockeying for the position to go ahead and do it. The answer is no. Once we had the problem with the lots, no one really wanted to do it because there's no chance of it happening with the Truma Sedesh itself, and only then afterwards did they add on the other 2. Therefore, the question is no longer a question because it's true. But originally, it wasn't all 3; it was only 1. With that, we will continue after by the 2 dots. Uzmana Shehin Merubin, and when there was many people, they did this race. They instituted this race to run up to the top. Amar Papa says, "Pshitali the arba amis the ara loy rotzen v'olim b'kavistan." When we said when they ran up and they reached the first 4 amis, we're not talking about the first 4 amis off the ground, meaning we're not talking about on the ground itself. Also, we're not talking about that whoever reached the top 4 amis from the bottom of the ramp, 4 amis up from the ramp. That's not what we're talking about either. Also, we're not talking about the middle part of the ramp, 4 amis within the middle part of the ramp, because it's very hard to establish. No, we're talking about whoever reached the 4 amis from the top of the mizbeach. Whoever was the first one to reach 4 amis down from the mizbeach. Getting it, meaning 4 amis is usually the area of a person. Once whoever gets within the proper area of the mizbeach, the top of the mizbeach. Bayra Papa Arba Ami Sha'amru Behedya Ami Said V'Amas Saiviv. Is it talking? Just to preface this, I believe the article has a nice picture on this. That you have. The mizbeach had a base around it that went out 1 amma, and the question around the mizbeach there was a base that jotted out 1 amma from the top. So when you're looking down from the mizbeach, you see the mizbeach, and then you see further down an amma coming out, which was its base. And however, the ramp did not go up to that amma. It went above that amma and continued sloping until it reached the actual mizbeach. So it went over that amma of the base. The question is, when we say 4 amis, are we talking about 4 amis from the actual mizbeach, not including the base, or it's 4 amis from base? The 4 amis starts an amma down from the on the slopes down 1 amma. That's where the first amma starts, because technically that's already the mizbeach, because the base is right underneath it. So are we including that? So let's read it again. Bayra Papa Arba Ami Sha'amru Behedya Amar Yisaid V'Ama Saiviv Idilma, and that's 4 from the top. We're not including the extra amma. Idilma Bar Me'ama Yisaid V'Ama. No, or we're excluding that amma, and therefore the 4 amis is really 6 amis from the actual base of the mizbeach. Teku, and we leave it with the teku. We do not have the answer. Now, if there were few equal, then though the Hamnuna was the one who was appointed to take care of the services that day, he would say, "Put out your finger." So, Tana Haitzia Etzba Isechem Leminion Vimnimnu. The question is, why is it yet 1 or 2? Just put out 1 finger, and everyone will just count each person. What's with the 1 or 2? Or rather, why even put out the finger? Just count the people. Answer: Messiah Rabbi Yitzchak. Now I think it means to say is to take it out in actual. No, Rashi says Just count the heads. So Messiah Rabbi Yitzchak, the Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, Asr Limnois Yisrael. That this is a proof to Rabbi Yitzchak. Rabbi Yitzchak says it's forbidden to count the children of Israel. A field dvar mitzvah, even for a dvar mitzvah. So it's forbidden. Now, and this is for a mitzvah, because who's going to go ahead and fulfill the mitzvah of Truma Sedeshin? It's still going to be Asr. It says by Shaul counted the army by shards of pottery. Each person took a shard of pottery, put it into something, and then they counted that, and each one represented a person. They didn't count each head; they counted something instead. Now, who said it's a lashon of broken pottery? Perhaps maybe it's a city of a city. They counted the people who were in Bezek, which was a city. They found the master in Bezek. So you see Bezek as a city. That's not a good proof. Therefore, we have another proof. That he heard the nation and he counted them by each 1 sheep. Every sheep represented 1 person. Amar Abelazar, Kol HaMaynes Yisrael, Oiver Blav. Therefore, we have a proof. Why did he count them with a sheep? because you're not going to count each head. Therefore, they went to this idea. They counted the hands, the fingers, instead of each head. For it is usher to count each head. Now, lost the place. Whoever counts anyone in Klal Yisrael, you're over in a lav. You transgress a lav, a negative commandment. That the Torah says that Bnei Yisrael will be as vast as the sand, that which you cannot count. In fact, you transgress two negative commandments. It says you cannot count, and they cannot be measured. It cannot count. Two ways to say that's forbidden to count. Now we have a contradiction. The following two psukim and Rabbi Shmuel Bar Nachmani said Rabbi Yisrael had this issue. First, to write that you can't count Bnei Yisrael like the sand of the sea. Asher lo yimav lispar v'ksiv, and then it writes lo yimad v'lo yispar, that you cannot count them. Meaning the sand of meaning the first pasuk is saying you could count, right? You're able to go ahead and count. The second pasuk is impossible to count. So what do we do? Like Hashakam bisman sheisrael eisin rishon yishal makim hamzan she'ein eisim rishon yishal makim. One's when you listen to Kadosh Baruch Hu, that's when we're going to be so vast that we're impossible to count. And if not, we'll be vast, but we'll still be able to count. Rabbi Amar Misham Abba Yosi Bar Josi like Hashakam bidei Adam Kan bidei Shemayim. One is humans can never count sand. That's impossible. And the other one is, well, be vast. But of course, HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows the number, right? It's pretty obvious that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is able to quickly knows exactly every going on in this world, and therefore he would actually able to put a specific number on Klal Yisrael. Okay, now Amar Rav Nihili Bari Debar Amar Shmuel Kivin Shenismana Adam Parnes Al Tibor Asher Misasher Mikar Ksiv Viftem Bibesa. So Ksiv Viftem Betlam. That when someone goes ahead and is appointed master over a congregation, for example, Shaul was appointed king, he immediately is rich, becomes rich, because originally he was counting his nation, his army with shars. That was before he became king. Once he became king, he was counting them with sheep. So we see from here that he was immensely wealthy after he got rich. So Velema Bidideu. No, who said he got rich? Maybe it was his entire time. And came my Rabusa de Milsa. What's the chiddush? Who cares what he's counting with? Why is the Torah telling us he counted the shards and he counted the sheep? They said tell us that first he was not so rich. He was counting shards, and then once he was appointed king, he had he became fabulously wealthy, and he was able to count with use his sheep, and to count the whole army with sheep, you would have to have a significant amount. Now, next the pasuk we continue with psukim of Yarav b'Nachal, and they sort of like fought in the Nachal, in the stream or the valley. It means the stream. Amar Rav Mani al Iski Nachal, that he fought with Hashem on the subject of the Nachal, which is talking about Egel Rufa. The Egel Rufa, the halacha that if someone dies between two cities, you measure the city, whichever city is closest. You go. I'm sorry, he's a wayfarer. He's killed on Derech. Whichever city is closer, they take a cow and they slaughter it by a river. So we should refer. So it looks like Shaul was fighting with the Kadosh Baruch Hu on the subject of Egel Rufa. Now, Vishash Amalek Kadosh Baruch Hu l'Shaul lech vehiki said Amalek, when Kadosh Baruch Hu told go kill Amalek, Amar umeis nefesh achas, and you're going to kill umeis adam achas. If one person gets killed, Amar Torah haba Egel Rufa kalam feichasolu alachas kalam kama. Just for one person, Allah, there's a whole vast halacha, and we have to see which city is guilty. You have to take it down. The elder of the city have to take the ox down to the river. It is a tremendous kapara. It's a tremendous. You need tremendous kapara for one act of one person killed. Adam. So for sure, in a whole nation, how could you kill a whole nation? Adam chait, and if the people sinned, why are we killing all the animals? And if the elders sinned, the young, why are we killing the children? So Shaul wasn't too pleased when he was told, when he got the commandment to go ahead and kill out Amalek. Yasas Baskov Amra, Al Tihi Tzadik Harba. Don't be so righteous. Hashem saying, I know what I'm doing. Don't fight with me on being on the realms of righteous. And now, when Shaul went ahead and he killed out when he killed out Noiv, he wiped out, destroyed, killed an entire city of Kahanim. Yatzas Baskov Amalai Alter Shrab. He's like, don't be so evil. Okay, continue. They got it. Amr Huna Kamal Choli Margish Gavra the Maria Siata. See, meaning saying we're going off a little tangent here. Since we started with Shaul, we're continuing with Shaul and David. We're going off on that how great it is to be close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because when you do something wrong, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will be quicker to forgive you. Shaul ba'achas also like Shaul sinned with one thing, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, "You're out," and he lost the entire kingship. David b'shayim also like David sinned twice and nothing, and he didn't get away with it. Maybe he did tshuva, whatever it was, he didn't lose his kingship. Shaul ba'achas mahi. What's the one thing that he said? Maisa the Agag. He messed up on Agag. He didn't kill Agag. He let Agag live. The king of Amalek, he didn't wipe it the entire. He did. The fact is, he killed the entire Amalek, but he kept the animals alive, and he also kept Agag, the king, alive. And from that one night, that's how Amalek continued to survive. For Ika Maisa the Noiv Irakanim. What do you mean? It's a story that Shaul wiped out the entire city of Noiv Irakanim. How could that's a great sin? So one count that. Maisa the Gaksev and Chamti ki nechamti ki himlachti Shaul. At the end of the day, when it came to the mice of Agag, at the end of the day, HaKadosh Baruch Hu was sort of, he says, I have calmed down because Shaul, because I took away the kingdom of Shaul. So there was a punishment. Oh, hold on, give me 1 second, because there was a punishment, right? So I thought that was going on. Okay, give me 1 second. Hold on. Okay, he did. Hold on. Okay, I'm not so sure. So it looked, but by the case of we are saying okay. So by the case of Noiv, that he wiped out the kingdom of Noiv, Shaul was sort of was punished. Something happened to him. He got punished for it for some reason. For the fact that he took away we know that the reason why he lost his kingship is really because of how he sinned and he didn't kill Agag. So some reason that's not counted as the punishment. So I'm not sure. Hold on. No, that's what it says. Yeah. Okay. It looks like no, that's what it is. Okay. I think it's like this, that Noiv, he sinned by Noiv, and he got punished for it. It looks like he lost his kingship. I always thought the reason he lost his kingship was because of Agag, because he messed up on Agag. Apparently, not so true. He lost his kingship because of Noiv. And he definitely sinned by Agag. He left Agag alive. The answer to that is, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, you know what, he had enough. He lost his kingship. I'm not going to do anything more to him. But if you read the Navi, it clearly says the reason why he lost the kingship is for Agag. I guess you could say is really he lost it for Noiv. HaKadosh Baruch Hu pinned it on Agag for whatever the reason was. But it was really for Noiv, and he only got punished once. Okay, let's continue. Now, David sinned twice, and he didn't get punished by Ninu. The Uriah, he sent Uriah to the front in order that he could marry Bathsheba, and Uriah got killed. The second was Vidahashasa. And the second is that he took a census, and because he took a census, he was counting people. That's really how we got to this. We talk about census, he counted people's heads, and therefore there was a huge plague that killed many, many Yidden. But Ika Nami Maisa de Bathsheba, there is also the act of Bathsheba. Now I just have a question, I don't understand. The act of Bathsheba should be hand in hand with the Maisa of Uriah. He sent Uriah to the front. I'm not exactly sure why we separate the two. I guess one is the act of sending someone to his death, and another act is living with a married woman, who ended up being, who retroactively wasn't married, but whatever it was. But for whatever is Hasam Ifru, but by the case of Bathsheba, he was punished. Mina dechsiv because it writes, Kifsa Yishalim Arbasaim, that he was paid back 4 times for his for the story of Bathsheba. One is Yeled, a son, one of the children, I think, of Bathsheba, his first child from David, died. Amnon, the story of Amnon. Amnon abused his sister Tamar, which is the next one, and then Avshalom took revenge on Amnon and killed him. And Avshalom, and then everyone knows the story of Avshalom. Avshalom rebelled against his own father. Hasanami Fru Minei Dechsiv, but there too he also got paid back because it says Vitin Hashem Dever, because Va'ad Vad Might. So the problem is that what do you mean? By the case of the census, he also got paid back. There was a huge plague that took place. So how can you say that he didn't get punished? Hasman loifru begufa. He personally did not get pained. Now hasam nami loifru migufe. But also over there, what do you mean? By the case of the census, also others died. He didn't get hurt. So the I afru migufa amrav Yehuda amrav sheshes chadashim nistar David uparshu himenu Sanhedrin mishalki himenu shchina tischiv yeshu li yerecha v'yoyde oydesecha. Because by the case of the census, we want to say is that he personally did not get any. I mean, of course, 7,000. I think it was around 7,000 that many Yidden died, but he personally was not affected by Bathsheba. How can we say he got punished by Bathsheba for his child died, his child was raped, his other child was killed, and his fourth child rebelled against him? That's not fun, right? That's terrible sorrows. But again, it wasn't a personal physical pain. So that should be the same thing as a census? So the answer is no. There was a great personal pain after the case of Bathsheba, because it said that the Sanhedrin left him, and Baruch Hu didn't have Shechina and he didn't have Ruach Kodesh. The Shechina Hashem left him for 6 months. So V'chsiv writes he shava li sasain, because it also writes that he davens to HaKadosh Baruch Hu yishvu li yirecha v'yoyde desecha. He's asking for the Sanhedrin to return to him. V'chsiv yishivi li sasain yishecha. To Hashem to happiness, may HaKadosh Baruch Hu should come back into his life and he should be able to converse with him. So we see from there was in Sanhedrin and Tehillim. There was a person crying out of pain. He couldn't live without the Sanhedrin. He couldn't live with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Therefore, we say that the case of Bathsheba, there was a punishment that were not, unlike the other two cases of the census and of Uriah. Now, v'amarav kibel David lashon hara, kishmol amar like kibel David lashon hara. V'amarav Rav said kibel David lashon hara, that David accepted lashon hara. Kishmol amar like kibel David lashon hara. No, we go like Shmuel. Shmuel said that David never accepted lashon hara. Therefore, we don't have another thing that he did and he didn't get punished for. So the Rebbe Nami damar kibel David lashon hara. And that which you say that. Rav Nam Damar Kibul David lashon hara, and that which Rav says that David did accept lashon hara. Ifihu minei, he was ifru minei the Amar. Rav Yehuda Amar B'shash Amalei David. So just the preface that some say he did accept lashon hara and he was punished for accepting lashon hara. The case of lashon hara was that he was running away from Avshalom. Some came out to tell him that Mephibosheth, who was the son of Shaul, who he gave a lot of possessions, so he gave Shaul's estate to Mephibosheth. That someone told him Mephibosheth took the side of Avshalom, and that of course David got very upset, and he took Mephibosheth's portion and he gave it to the person who told him that. And it wasn't true. So he accepted lashon hara. That's a sin, and we want to say over here that he was paid back for it. Why? What happened? Because that afterwards, when he found that Mephibosheth was really on his side, he told Mephibosheth, okay, you can take half your field back, half your property, estate back. Because he listened to lashon hara, because he got himself into this pickle, they gave someone's property, and now you got a problem, because the first person did nothing wrong, but Lamaisa, you're the king, and you give the property to someone else. What do? You have to split it. Therefore, your descendants, your grandchild, is going to have to split his kingdom. Now, Ben Shana Shaul b'Malka, he says that Shaul was one year old. It was 1 year when he became a king. Now we know he wasn't 1 year when he became a king. What did that mean? It's a metaphor. Amrafuna ki Ben Shana Shloi Tam Tam Chet. He was like a child that never tasted any chet. Maybe he was like a child that was rolling in his dirt. Children are not especially clean, so maybe he was full of sin. that night when he said this, because he was doubting that Shaul was clean of Chet when he became king, he had dreams of demons. Amar Nininsi Lechem Atzmei Shaul ben Kish. He said, "Okay, you're right. I'm sorry." Shaul ben Kish. He called him Shaul ben Kish by his first name. Hadar Chazah Siyut Bechama. He continued to see demons in his dream. Amar Nininsi Lechem Atzmei Shaul ben Kish Melch Yisrael. I plead for you that the Shaul ben Kish Melch Yisrael. He threw Melch Yisrael. Then the demons left him. Do we have time to continue? What time do you usually go to? Or what time do you have to leave to go to Casa?
You normally go till 7.
Oh, you go straight to 7. Okay, fine. Amar Yehuda Amar Shmuel. Why is it that Beis Shaul didn't continue? Meaning that we know why Shaul lost his kingship. Shaul lost his kingship because of the Maisa of Noiv and the Maisa of keeping a Malach alive. But so wanted to go to his son. Why did it have to be that his family, his lineage, lost the right to be king of Israel? Interesting answer. Because there was genetically he had no defects. He was, as they say, he had yichus. He was chashav. He came from his ancestry was pure, straight from Har Sinai. The Amar Rabbi Yochanan Mishum Rab Shimon, and what's wrong with that? So very good. That should be the person to be king, perhaps you think. So the Amar Rabbi Yochanan Mishum Rab Shimon ben Yitzadek Ein Ma'amidim Parnes Al Tzibur El Imkein Kupa Shel Shrastim Tuli Boy Ma'achurav. The only person who should be appointed master over the community is someone who has, literally means to say, a box of shratzim of disgusting creatures hanging on his back, meaning he has baggage. And the baggage in this case will be his yichus, his ancestry has some questions to it. Not the fact that he's Jewish or not, just there were some I guess rumors or perhaps some scandals in his ancestral history. Now, because if he comes too powerful over the community, look to your back. Don't take too much control. You're not Mr. Perfect yourself. And David had that. David had the whole story with Rus. David's own mother was suspected. He himself was suspected to be a child from. He himself was suspected that his mother had an affair, and he himself was considered to be a mamzer till it was all figured out. So therefore, he definitely had baggage, at least in his lineage. Now, this is a garata. Another reason why maybe. So first we have Noiv, that's why he was punished. We have another reason he left the Gag alive. That's why Shaul lost his kingship. Another reason why he lost his kingship is because, or he didn't go to his son, is because he had a too perfect lineage. Another one is that because he was machal kvaydai. He didn't when his honor as king was questioned, or someone said some nice comments. He just let it go. He was meichel. It says Ubnei Blial Amar Ma Yarshu Zev Yevzu V'Hivuloi Mincha V'Hayikam Macharesh. And it says that these children, Bnei Blial, these people that caused problems, they said, "Who is this person?" And they embarrassed him, and he was king, and they didn't bring him any tribute, and he was quiet, and Shaul just kept quiet and let it go. And also it says that something took place, and they were supposed to get killed, and Shaul said, "Okay, fine, you know what? Don't kill them. I'm okay with it. I'll pass on killing them. I'll pass on my honor." So and therefore he lost his kingship. Now the question is, like, what do you mean? That's supposed to be a beautiful thing. That what else do you want a king to do? He shouldn't stand up for himself. He should be okay with passing on his covenant. So in that we learn that that anyone we turn to Chaf Gimel Amud Aleph on top. A Talmud Chacham, a righteous person who does not take revenge on the covenant of the Torah, is not a true Talmud Chacham. So there was something missing there, that he was too quiet. As a king of Israel, you are representing Hashem. You are sort of a representative. I don't want to say he's a representative of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but definitely you are, in the eyes of the people, you are definitely have a very close connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You are you interpret what Hashem wants in this world, and therefore you can't. You have to stand up for yourself, and it's usher. It's forbidden for a king to give up on his covet, on his honor, and therefore he lost it. Now, but what do you mean? The Torah says you should not take revenge. Two different types of taking revenge. Tikam sitar, that's talking about money. When it comes to monetary matters, you're not supposed to take revenge. When it comes to honor, you are allowed to take revenge. Or honor a personal slight. Now, the Tanya, Ezihi Nikama, Ezi Natira. I mean, the Gemara says, what's not on the Kama, what's on the Tira, and it explains it in monetary matters. The Kim Amrali, Hishleni Gal Amrali, Lav Lumachar Amrali, Hu Hishleni Kardamecha. That I go to my friend, I say, Kai, lend me your axe. And he says, no. Yesterday, I asked you for an axe, and you told me no. I'm taking revenge on you, and I'm not letting you borrow my axe, as you told me yesterday, as you did to me. What's called Natira? This is more bearing a grudge. That instead of you actually give it to him when you hand over the axe, by the way, I'm not like you. You didn't give it to me yesterday. I'm gonna do the right thing and I'm gonna give it to you. That is called Natira. So we see both cases are monetary manners. So Vitsara Dgufalai. Now, is that true? Someone can take personal revenge for a personal insult. Is that really true? Vatanya Hanalvin V'Eni Olvin Shabin Chapastim Eni Mishivin Oisim Mahavas Smechem Bisun Alink Siv. If someone hears an insult and he keeps quiet, if someone hears his disgrace and he doesn't answer back, that's a beautiful thing. The Torah says is that Hashem loves him like a sun shining bright. So obviously, it's definitely the right thing to do is to keep quiet when it comes to personal revenge. So Olam Denaket Le Biliba says no, you can hate him in your heart. However, you should not take verbal revenge. When it comes to, and specifically when it comes to the Talmud Chacham, he shouldn't take revenge himself. He should let others tell the person off. We see also that anyone that passes away that lets whoever gets insulted or anything happens to him, he doesn't take revenge. He lets it go. He keeps quiet. It says that no, we're talking about cases that let's say someone insults you and he comes over to you and he asks you mechila, then of course you should let it go and not take revenge. So according to this, the bottom of our article, before you start taking revenge on every single little ill slight that happens to you, read the bottom of the article. They have a very clear cut what you're supposed to do. So really, when it comes to monetary matters, you're not allowed to take revenge. When it comes to personal, you should try to let it go, especially if someone comes over and asks you forgiveness. Comes to Talmud Chacham, then you're not allowed to. Talmud Chacham should keep quiet and let others take revenge. When it comes to a king, he has no choice. He's not allowed to have it happen. You're not allowed to insult the king because that's going to cause, if you just let people insult you, the people are going to get away with murder. Okay, you got to the two dots on Chaf Gimel Aleph. I think I'm giving it tomorrow. Maybe Rabbi Spivak will give it tomorrow. We'll see. Okay, thank you very much.